And when they won in 66 and 67, they had 6 African-American starters on defense. 4 are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. 5 started in the Pro Bowl after the 67 season.
You depend on the strength of your teammates. And our African-American teammates had plenty of strength and plenty of ability and were a great contribution to the team. So it was really the smart thing to do. And it's a smart thing for our society to do at this point in time.
Welcome back to Wisconsin's Hidden History, Pro Football in Green Bay. Jerry Kramer, Pro Football Hall of Famer, strong words there. And George, there's no question about it. I mean, if you didn't have guys like Willie Davis and Herb Adderley and Willie Wood, Dave Robinson, others, those teams wouldn't have been that good.
Yep, Bob Jeter, Lionel Aldridge.
Elijah Pitts.
Right. You look at Jerry Kramer and Willie Davis, the first black-white roommate in the National Football League. That happened in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Under the leadership of Vince Lombardi.
And one thing's for certain there, too. Lombardi turned the Packers into a dynasty on the field, but he might have had an even bigger impact off of it culturally in the community.
Yeah, this was pretty much, I grew up in Green Bay, and this was pretty much a lily white community. And the Packers, the Black Packers, were the exception.
Vince Lombardi is often credited as being, quote unquote, colorblind, offering all these opportunities, and he did, that is part of our narrative, but also I think we need to give credit to the players who took a chance on Green Bay, took a chance on a very white community at a time when, race relations weren't at their greatest.
When they won those early championships in 61, 62, there were some teams that had, maybe much like the Packers, no more than 1 or 2. Some I don't even believe had any African-American starters. And a lot of teams still didn't have that many in 66 and 67.
For that time frame, having African-American players in a predominantly white community, Vince was perfect.
Yes, yes, absolutely. When you read the quotes and you look at it, we didn't interpret what was there. We took the national storyline and said, okay, what were these players saying? What were the families saying? What was the coach saying at that particular time? What were they feeling? Because nobody can say it better than in their own words.
Lombardi had no quotas. So the Packers had more African-American starters than any other team.
He was not shy about stating his beliefs. He was not shy about talking about prejudice and the qualities of a man that he wanted to play for him.
Because he had an open mind. That was really the key to that team.
If you were a Green Bay Packer and you were in addition to that football team, you were my pal. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what nationality you are. If you can contribute and you're consistent and I can depend upon you, then you're my pal and you can depend upon me. And I'll look after you and you look after me.
He changed the culture of Green Bay, and he did do that. The Packers in Washington used to play a preseason game in Columbus, Georgia, and they played it, I think it was back-to-back years when Lombardi was here, and he had them stay at Fort Bragg outside Columbus because the Jim Crow laws, his entire team couldn't stay together.
So actually when he first started traveling with the team, he kind of found that they were segregated in the South, and he didn't like that anymore, and he refused to let that happen, which is something Bob Mann faced a lot of when he played, before Lombardi. And so they would actually stay at military bases.
And the same in Green Bay, that he let it be known that he expected people that owned restaurants and taverns to serve his African-American players.
Sharing, roommate stories. Definitely just his leadership and his management of the team really brought that sense of community and sense of place. He really, when I think of Vince Lombardi, I think of community and what he was trying to build with the team and within the community of Green Bay.
There was another story about a restaurant in Green Bay that didn't want to serve the African-American players. And Coach heard about it and went down to see the guy. And he said, well, that's fine. That's not a problem. In fact, none of the players will be in here, ever. This place will be off limits as long as I'm in Green Bay. Thank you very much.
George, one of the things that stood out for me was the fact that Lombardi, the way he thought about things was because he was discriminated against as an Italian-American out east.
Right, and one thing about Vince Lombardi, he was just an excellent leader. He knew what was going on across the country in the 1960s. 1964 was the civil rights legislation, and he was able to navigate that tumultuous time in our country and our history.
All right, when we come back on Wisconsin's Hidden History, the Lombardi era changed the culture on and off the football field forever. It took 2.5 decades for another man to have that kind of impact here in Green Bay. We'll reflect on your good friend, Reggie White.